Are you too busy, too stressed out, unhealthy? Then this is the place for you. Welcome to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals, where we help you create wellness and balance with a holistic approach that will work for you, even with the busiest of schedules, so you can live the life you want. And now, here's your host, Diane Randall.
Hello, welcome to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. This is our special question and answer episode. So I want to thank you for tuning in because you don't want to miss the podcast today. In this episode of Balanced Living for Busy Professionals, we've selected the best questions that you, the listening audience, submitted through email, Facebook, online comments, and voicemail. Today's episode is centered around work-life balance. We're talking about self-talk, self-care, plant nutrition, and much, much more. But first, I'd like to take a few minutes to tell you about what's coming up for you as we wind down 2016. This Q&A episode is the last episode of 2016. Can you believe that it's been a year almost since we launched? Last November we launched, and it is just amazing how quickly the time passed. I want to tell you that I have learned so much, and I'm just so happy that I've spent the last year providing you the best information and tools to help you create lives that you truly, truly love. And if there's anything that you'd like to hear for 2017, just send us emails or leave a voicemail right on the website. But I really want to tell you that Balanced Living for Busy Professionals is taking a break in mid-October through the month of December. So we won't come back with new episodes until January 2017. During this break, we are leaving you with the best of Balanced Living for Busy Professionals, the top episodes that attracted the largest listening audiences. And don't just stop there. Feel free to go through the archives and listen to shows that you may have missed. It's been an exciting year. I've learned so much. I've met so many awesome people that I've been able to invite to the show to give you tips of value that may help you create the life you really want to live, as well as if you're stuck in any habits and patterns, hopefully some of this information can really help you free yourself up so that you can live the life you want. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter to see the list of the top episodes starting in mid-October. I look forward to bringing you brand new, high-quality episodes in January 2017, and we'll be also moving to a bi-monthly format, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you in the new year. Let's get started with today's episode. I want to answer some of your most pressing questions that we collected since we launched the Balanced Living for Busy Professionals podcast. The first question is, when it comes to work-life balance, what is one thing you can do during the day to practice self-care? The first thing you can do is incorporate or start thinking about work-life balance as your life. Because it's really not a difference when you look at self-care. You need the self-care to support you in your work. Well, there's some simple things you can do, like take 10 minutes 3 times a day out of your working day to get up from your desk and take a brisk walk. It doesn't matter where you walk. The point is that you walk for 10 minutes 3 times a day. It doesn't matter if you're inside or out. It doesn't matter if you walk around the building, if you walk around the desk. My point is, take 10 minutes 3 times a day to get up from that desk and walk around. By the end of the workday, you have walked 30 minutes, so you don't have to make any excuses as to why you cannot be physically active at least 30 minutes a day. And also, it relieves stress. It allows you to renew your thoughts so that you can come back refreshed to continue with whatever work you were doing in that moment. And believe it or not, you can meditate at work 5 to 10 minutes a day. I know some of you are like, I don't have time for that, but yeah, it's really easy. Find a conference room or an empty office and just sit in silence. Don't even turn the light on. Just sit in silence. And I want you to just take a deep breath in, count to 5, and exhale out slowly, counting to 5. See? That's easy. You can meditate at work. The next question is, many have a hard time shutting work off. How can I eliminate the chatter of email, mobile phones, and technology and get my personal life back? Well, I want to tell you, in order to get your life back, and in our culture today with devices, our laptops, our cell phones, our iPads, and every other electronic device that we have, it's created an on-call work mentality that has taken over our lives. These hyper-accessible devices keep you tied to work and distracted 24/7. And it's not just the tools. It's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's Instagram. There's so much to keep us distracted. So what I want to tell you is the first thing is you have to put things into perspective if you want some time, because these technology devices are really taking over our lives, and they've turned into a leash that keeps us bound to work and totally distracted from what's important. So I want you to consider these things. I want you to look at how often you read your email and on how many different gadgets. And I want to recommend that you set some priorities for not only reading the email, but responding to the email during a set period of time during the day. And no night email reading at all. Once you get to home, I want you to release work and not, even though you have your cell phone, don't read your emails as a practice, at least not every night. And if you could get in the habit of not being on the phone while you're driving. First of all, it's dangerous and distracting. I know we have these no headset devices in our cars, but the important thing is that, that could be time that you can focus on the present and what's around you while you're driving your car. This gives you a chance to just release the day. So think about that. And I also want you to watch taking your laptop home. Today we don't really have to take our laptop home because we all have access virtually to our work areas or our work desktops. But I want you to think about how you can separate work from your home life. Really think about setting priorities for home. For example, when I get home, or if I'm home and I'm working, 5 o'clock, I'm done working and it becomes my personal life for whatever I need to do. Even if I'm just sitting there listening to audios, it is my time. Just because I have a free moment does not mean I need to fill it up with work. So I want you to learn how to release work and keep things separate. So I recommend that you create what I call a work is over ritual. And this stops the work time and allows you to transition to personal time. And this can be as simple as what I mentioned before, not answering the phone in the car, not listening to your emails. This can be as simple as when you go home, changing into some comfortable clothes once you get there. You can create a no work zone once you get home. This means no work conversations about work, no laptops, no cell phone access to the laptop, no talk about work, no logging into your computer to access work. This is a no work zone. I want you to focus on what's going on in your real life, not your Facebook life, not your Twitter life, not your Instagram life. But it's about spending time with yourself, your families, or thinking about what you really want to create in your personal life. I want you to give yourself the opportunity to create space to enjoy life and look at the areas of your life that could use more of your attention, your energy, and your resources. Getting control of your life means that you have to remove yourself from the do-all position, set boundaries for what you will and will not do, and just delegate tasks. Because a lot of us want control. If we don't do it, it won't get done, or we feel it won't get done right. But I want you to really think about asking for help and use it when tackling a large task. And by clearly communicating how you will allow others to interact with you, you establish control in your life. And delegating those boundaries often leads to greater satisfaction. The next question is, what is the best way to remain focused and disciplined with eating out when scheduling your life, your job, and your family becomes overwhelming? First of all, I want you to take the word discipline and willpower out of your vocabulary, because this has nothing to do with discipline and willpower. It has more to do with deciding what's important to you and clearly setting your priorities. You have to figure out what really matters in your life. Honestly assess what you want your priorities to be, not what you or everyone else thinks they should be. And that's really hard for people. And you've heard me say over and over, you need courage to set priorities and boundaries that support you in your life, because you'll have to tell people that you love that you need to take care of you. Is your job interfering with your personal time? And if it is, I want you to just think about and reassess your priorities at work. The key is to understand that true balance comes from taking an honest look at your life and your priorities. I mean, this is the bottom line, and making decisions that will support you and honestly communicating what that looks like. So what I'd like for you to do, just to get a handle on things, is just track your personal time from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed for like 7 days. And then I want you to list your 7 top priorities, recognizing that you can't do everything. And it's not about discipline, as I said a few minutes ago, or willpower. It's about making choices and decisions that support your life. And you have to be willing to take something off of your proverbial plate of life. It takes courage to create a life that supports what you really want. And the next question is, how do you turn off that inner voice that will try to convince you not to take the time to exercise or make healthy changes in your lifestyle? This is so funny, because at least 2 or 3 times a week, and I exercise religiously, but at least 2-3 times a week, that inner voice I'll go back and forth with my inner voice, and my inner voice is telling me, you know what, you worked out yesterday, so you can just lie here today. I'll talk myself in and out of working out, and then finally, I've learned to just push those thoughts aside and just get up, and it's just not easy for everyone. So if you want to just get a handle on that inner voice, first of all, I want you to get or create some awareness about that voice and recognize it for what it is. It is your voice. And you know what? You don't have to listen to that voice. You do not have to listen to the voice. I know when I first had heard that, it was just a strange concept. But you want to create awareness of your thoughts by creating a practice that nourishes your mind and keeps you focused on the present moment. And earlier I talked about when you're in the car, just sitting in that silence and focusing on the present. That means you're not in your head. If you're looking around in your environment, then you're not in your head. It's easy for us to go in our heads when we're driving. But I also want to give you some examples that you can do. And these are examples that my clients and people have told me that work for them when they're trying to shut off or shut down that inner voice. When they're planning and maintaining a garden, meditating, praying, being in nature. Someone told me even cutting the grass at home and painting. And this is just some of the feedback I've gotten from my clients and workshop attendees, and even a couple of people told me during the year of what helps them clear their mind. So they say when they're consciously doing things to quiet their thoughts, they're not thinking at all of the time that they are engaged. I really want you to observe your thoughts by practicing stopping your thoughts. You can do this by saying stop to yourself when the thought arises. Also, taking a deep breath, inhaling slowly in and exhaling slowly out shuts off your thoughts. And you can also become an observer of your thoughts when you are listening in your thoughts, trapped by your self-talk. You can say to yourself, what am I thinking about at this very moment? And stay with the thought and see where it goes. You don't have to do anything. This helps you to become aware of what you're thinking about in the moment. And when you become an observer of your thoughts, they no longer take you over, and your mind begins to calm down, and that incessant, continuous chatter is observed for what it is, a thought that you don't have to listen to. It's in your mind. Just let it pass. It will pass. So now we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will talk about plant nutrition.
Oh, I need my life to slow down.
Bring your life into balance with Diane Randall, host of the Balanced Living for Busy Professionals podcast. Get one-on-one consultations, wellness workshops, or hire her as a speaker for your next event. Visit DianeRandallConsults.com. That's DianeRandallConsults.com for the path to balanced living.
Okay, how do you reprogram your mind to change toward making better food choices? This is so interesting because this is one of the hardest things that people have to do. And I always say, this is a question whether you're making food choices, you want to lose weight. This is a question that needs to be answered when you're talking about anything, but we'll answer the question around the food choices. I want you to look at the beliefs you have around food. Cultural beliefs, societal beliefs, processed foods. And I say processed foods because processed foods a lot have ingredients in them to keep us hooked, because our brains are hardwired for things like sugar, for example. So our brain constantly wants to be fed. So that helps us to stay hooked. So basically, when I say you want to look at making good choices minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, but you also want to look at why you're hooked and how you're hooked. For example, I know that sugar is very addicting. It's addicting like cigarettes or cocaine. So you may want to look at your intake in sugar. And this is what I'll say about this in the few minutes that we're together. You also want to practice, I call it practice choosing foods that support you. And also looking at, for example, from a culture standpoint, I know in my culture, food is a big deal. Food is love. Food brings us together. So you may want to look at ideas on how you can come together in a different format. I mean, I'll just use myself for example. I've been plant-based for about 9 years now, and it really changed the dynamics for me when I get with my family for Thanksgiving. So I really had to learn to think about Thanksgiving in a different way. So for me, it's more of the social aspect of it. Yes, I will bring a dish, or now my family will have a dish for me. But I tell you, it was many years where I really had to rethink how I fit in with the family without food being the driver. And it just takes time to unlearn and relearn a lot of the habits that got you where you are today. So I really had to learn to think differently about food and how that fit in with my family, for example. And if we look at it from a societal perspective, our culture conditions us to eat and eat and eat. So in order to help to reprogram yourself, and I'll just say this quickly, I recommend that you stop looking at commercials the first thing, because the messages from the environment conditions us and keeps us hooked. And I'll have more information on making choices and how to reprogram your mind when you want to do things differently in 2017 in podcasts, because I talk a lot about the programming. You can also go in the archives and look at a lot of my plant-based episodes, or episodes that I had where I brought on guests and I did solo shows. So if you look in the archives, I always talk about our brains and being conditioned and the messages of the environment that keeps us eating. So you want to check those out. So I get this question a lot from people. You're plant-based. What about protein when you're on a plant-based diet? And I'm here to tell you that there are more green vegetables that have healthy proteins in them than all the meat you can eat. I mean, this is so true. And people also ask about the B12 aspect. If you are truly eating a highly whole foods diet, that means you're eating green leafy vegetables, you're eating whole fruits, whole grains, then you really won't have a problem with B12 and protein. I know my protein is on the high end, believe it or not. So that myth, or that statement that people make, you know, even doctors. I mean, my doctor didn't believe that I was getting enough protein, my regular doctor, until she ordered tests and saw that my B12 and my protein's fine. I mean, what I will tell you, if you're on a plant-based diet, it does behoove you to get your blood checked just to make sure that your numbers are in check, especially when you start out. If you exercise often, what will the body use for food? Now, this is a question I got from someone. You know what? This is a funny question, because if you're eating plant-based foods, your body is not spending all of its time processing that food. So therefore, you have more energy. You have more energy. It's not like because you eat plant-based foods, now you don't have enough energy to exercise and live your life. As a matter of fact, I advocate that you have even more energy. Because when you eat foods that are easily broken down and processed by your body, okay, you have more energy. And I want to tell you one more thing. You release extra pounds by eating healthy whole foods, and this provides you more fuel. The next question is, I've heard a lot about plant nutrition. What is it exactly, and how can it benefit me in my health? Is plant nutrition the same thing as being vegetarian or vegan? I want to tell you the difference between vegan and vegetarian is that a vegan eliminates all, and this is the official terminology, and then I'll just tell you what I do. The difference between a vegan and a vegetarian is that a vegan eliminates all animal products from his or her diet, including dairy. People following a vegan lifestyle generally do not wear leather and avoid products made from animals. Vegetarians do not eat meat, fish, or poultry, but they may eat dairy products such as cheese, yogurt, or milk. Vegetarians are not as predictable in their beliefs, as there are many reasons to become vegetarian that don't necessarily include some of the things I mentioned as a primary motive. For example, many vegetarians have eliminated meat for the sake of their health. In fact, there are a great many people lumped into this category that are vegetarian. And I just want to share with you, and this is just my opinion. I've been plant-based for about 9 years now, and all the labels and definitions that makes someone vegan, vegetarian, or raw, it's just too complex for me to keep straight. So I have a simple definition that really works for me. And what I say to myself is I eat plant-based foods that have no mother, no face, and they are grown in the ground. Whole foods like vegetables and fruits and whole grains. And it's just so much information. I know initially I started eating plant-based because my health, as I was getting older, my health was starting to be affected by a lot of my food choices. I'll just say that. High cholesterol, high blood pressure. I could see myself going down a path that just wasn't going to be good in the next few years. So initially, I opted for plant foods because I just didn't want to keep getting sick. And at the time, I was having a lot of digestive issues. And I believe because just that long-term eating of all the bad processed foods, it takes a toll on your body after a while. So I have to say that that's what started me in the beginning. But what happened once I became plant-based is I started looking at animals in a whole different way. I was able to see the animals as living, breathing beings who love, they play just like us. So that awareness really, really was huge for me. So that's what keeps me from not eating meat, is that awareness of the animals and that they are beings just like me. And all this is my stuff, my opinion. And every now and then I'll meet someone who says, well, you wear leather shoes. Guess what? I am where I am in my journey. I have not put any pressure on myself. And what I change and what I do, I let it naturally unfold for me. And this is just my opinion and what I do. But I'm so happy that I've made these changes and they have been very beneficial to my life. So for some simple recipes to jumpstart your plant-based journey, I want you to take a look at a few of my most favorite resources, and you can download recipes for free. So these are websites that you can go to right now, and I'll just name 3. Plant Pure Nation, Fork Over Knives, and One Green Planet. There's a lot of websites out there that you can Google for plant-based recipes that are free to help you jumpstart your journey. I also use delivery services. One of my favorite ones is called Bistro because I don't like to cook that much. But these foods come packed with no GMOs. They're whole foods and they're organic. And if you're someone who doesn't like to cook, then this could be for you. I know I use them because I take them with me when I travel to my clients sometime because I don't want the stress of trying to figure out, is there a vegan, vegetarian restaurant? So someone asked me, what happens when you travel? When I travel, I try to be proactive and I get on my phone or Yelp. But what I really do is try to see, okay, does this place have a vegan or vegetarian restaurant or a plant-based restaurant? And if it doesn't, I'll see if I can find like a grocery store, like a Whole Foods, where they have, I can go in there and I can get food already cooked like vegetables already cooked where I can just pile them onto a plate and eat my breakfast. Typically, hotels in general, because I go to hotels a lot today, they really haven't caught up, at least a lot of the ones that I stay at. I'm not saying all, but a lot of the hotels, I'll just say, they haven't caught up with people who eat plant-based food. So what I'll say is that you should be proactive. Don't feel bad about taking something in your suitcase. I'm not saying take heavy meals, and this is why I order Vistro, is because I can take my meals, small packaged meals, where I don't have to worry about what I'm going to eat. But I always scout something out. And you know what? Panera, Chipotle, all these restaurants always have something that you can eat. Something. But the message I'm trying to bring home is you have to be thoughtful in what you eat. Don't wait till you get hungry, but just be thoughtful in what you eat and ask questions. Some people don't like to ask questions to the waiter or food, but guess what? There's nothing wrong with asking questions. I guess that's the last question. I want to thank you for listening. It's been awesome, an awesome year. As I said when I first started this podcast today, I want to thank you for being here and supporting us all year long. And stay tuned, as I said, for some high quality episodes. And if you feel that Balanced Living for Busy Professionals has given you one thing of value, or that you've learned one thing that you didn't know before you started listening to this show, I want you to share the link, the Google Play link, the Stitcher link, the iTunes link. I want you to share the TuneIn link. I want you to share the link to access this podcast so that other people can be supported. And if there's any topics you'd like to hear in 2017, please feel free to leave a voicemail, leave an email, or leave a comment right here on the page. I also want to give you a heartfelt thank you. Thank you so much for your support, your comments, your feedback over the past year. And stay tuned in 2017 for more high quality episodes that will help you improve your life. Thank you so much. See you in 2017.
Thank you for listening to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. This podcast is sponsored by DianeRandallConsults.com. If you like this show, the best way to support it is by leaving 5-star feedback on iTunes. And please, feel free to email your questions, comments, and suggestions to feedback@DianeRandallConsults.com. Until next week, namaste.